It's the start of February, and I think we've got to admit that the holidays are over. And so it's time to launch into a new year for Dirty Linen. We're putting the summer series away, but even though it's still summer, I'm getting into the meat of things. The kids are back at school, my husband is back at the office half the time, and we're going to start diving into some topics. But I wanted to leave it to you to decide some of these topics and to put yourselves forward to be part of these conversations. What do you think it's really important to talk about? What industry issues do you think need airing? And what do you want to learn more about? You can let me know via email to hello@danivalent.com or message me on Instagram or Facebook. Some of the topics that I've got in mind, and if you want to talk about any of these, please get in touch. Seafood, the seafood industry. What does it mean? You know, how can we decide what fish is sustainable? What should we be eating? What shouldn't we be? Where do we get it from? There's so much to talk about there. Regenerative farming, you know, people are really interested in where their food is coming from, especially their meat. So who are the people that are doing interesting things in this space? And I think sustainability in general is something that, you know, everybody's thinking about, and there are so many ways to attack that topic. Supply chains in general, I think we're seeing there's, you know, the horrible stories about farmers leaving fruit on the trees or ploughing crops back into the ground because there aren't people picking them. I saw an article on the ABC website over the last few days saying that a Queensland farmer had realised that if he paid workers more, that he could get locals to do the job. I mean, who would have thought? So there's obviously a lot of issues to talk about in terms of the supply chains, right the way from the farms all the way to the way that food gets on a plate, and indeed the way that customers perceive it and see its value. And of course, that leads us to pricing. Is food too cheap? And if we need to, how do we make it more expensive, or how do we show the value in the food that we're putting in front of people? I guess this also leads into another one. I read an amazing article from the US about just dreadful stories about customers treating staff badly, not being COVID safe, not being respectful. And it made me think about, you know, is there a place to talk about this idea that the customer is always right? Is the customer always right? And what is the model for looking after people in a hospitable way, but still maintaining the boundaries and creating a really safe and nurturing environment for staff? I think we need to talk about the future. How is everybody feeling as 2021 really gears up? Are we feeling like the pandemic is behind us in Australia, even as we look overseas and see how different things are in so many countries around the world? For myself, I certainly feel incredibly lucky, and I've been making the most of all the things that we're able to do. I think I've been out the past 6 days. I'm going to have a day home today. But I've been loving eating in restaurants. I've been seeing some music. I've been driving to the country, all these things that just weren't possible, for much of 2020. The things that people keep talking about when I'm having conversations with people in hospitality are staffing, just how hard it is to find staff. And we know that a lot of the reason for that is that there aren't national workers here, there aren't backpackers coming in. But how hard is it to attract Australians into these jobs? And if it is really difficult, why is it so difficult? What can we do to have a really great flow of skilled, excited, committed staff coming into restaurants and through the industry? So another thing that people are talking about is JobKeeper and other types of industry support. Is there going to be a cliff at the end of March when JobKeeper wraps up? Do we need other support for the hospitality industry? And I know that there's a lot of discussions around at the moment about the award. What kinds of things do we want to see in that regard? Does the award need updating? What kinds of pay structures are going to make it fair and rewarding for staff, but also viable for businesses? And is the JobKeeper cliff going to flow on to staffing? You know, I guess the thing that I've learned so much about over the past year is how intertwined all these issues are. And it's going to be really fun, a little bit challenging to tease these out into separate topics, but I want you guys to be part of the conversation, and I'd love to create some positive change together. So please get in touch if you want to. Otherwise, I'm happy just to have you listening. So I'm really looking forward to sharing the year with you as Dirty Linen gears up. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about. We spend a week thrashing around each issue, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This is a Deep in the Weeds production.
It's a really tricky one because, from a government point of view, I can